Eviction, that means affordable rent, opportunity of ownership. Actually, those are two major issues. Affordable rent, which we were actually promised when these presentations were done.
Yes.
By Stuart. He was the one actually doing the presentations, you know. And he promised people the rental, which is between 850 and 1.5. But when you
850 rand a month.
850 rands a month.
Or 1,500 rand a month.
Yes.
The rent would be between those two.
Yes, because the qualifying criteria was that they look at your expenses. Sure. They look at your expenses and they calculate from there that how much would you qualify to rent. Of which unfortunately some of us were actually, I would say, robbed, because my rent that I was paying when I finally got my lease agreement with the rent in it, because when I signed it there wasn't the rent figure in it, it's just blank. I just signed it because they were saying there's no time to make copies of the lease agreement, and then there's no time to discuss the lease agreement, you know. We just signed the blank lease agreement, and when we finally got our lease agreement after we fought for it, it came with a figure of 2,180 rand, if I'm not mistaken, which was way above the expected amount, which was expecting to rent when I occupied the flat. You see, and that's when the dispute started.
From the very beginning.
From the very beginning, yes. I was like here for a month. On the second month, the rent increased because I came here in June
of 2009.
Of 2009, yes. I paid my June rent, which was including of my deposits and all that. In July, the rent increased. We were not actually notified about the increment. It was just a random increase. We were not told of the percentage that they were using and the criteria that they were using to actually increase our rent, you know. They just increase it the way they felt like to do it, you know. And that's when we started to dispute it. I'm coming, sir. All right, sure. Yes. Yeah. We try to call Stuart to the table, of which initially he actually refused coming. He said if you are not happy with the rent, go out and find another place, you know, just bluntly like that. And actually the words he used, he said, if you can't pay the rent, then fuck off. Go and find another place. That's what he used, you know. And I want to highlight this, you know, the rent that we are paying, out of that qualifying criteria, it's a pity that we are occupying those flats being different of color of skin. They are whites, Indians and blacks. We picked up that the whites who were pensioners, similar to our blacks who were pensioners, the whites were paying a way less rent than our black pensioners, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's another thing that got us very frustrated. That why is there discrimination against the skin, the black skin? Because yes, it's not much of the majority of the whites which are there, but the ones who are there, they've got preference, better preference than the blacks. That's another issue we have in Norway. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. And you'll find that a person, maybe your friend, that you can discuss things with, like you ask him or her that how much you're getting, he'll say I'm getting 4.5, He's occupying the very same flat as you, but he's paying less rent than you. And you start questioning this criteria, that why is there a criteria that is not being followed? Why is there a criteria and we do not follow the criteria? Because, if this had been done the way they had said it in a presentation, I don't think we'd be disputing this to this level, So this guy, he ran away for a number of times. We tried to invite him to a meeting, and then later on he decided to come because we said, you know what, we're not paying rent to you now. We are stopping to pay the rent until you come to the table and you discuss our issues, Yeah. And then he came and he was arrogant to the meetings, he didn't care about our issues and concerns. He just didn't care of what we were complaining about. He just didn't care. He didn't give it any attention. His attitude was that if you fail to pay the rent, then leave. Go find another place, This is my place. That's how we called it. This is my place, And then we had arguments. It continued and continued until it got to the court. We fought it in the court from about 2009 and 10, 2011 until we lost it recently. And then we got evicted. And now that's our current state now, that we are evicted. One must find his or her own space to live in now, because we got no any other place to live, I tell you, on the day when they evicted us, I don't know if he paid off the cops or what, because the cops were in the front of the evictions. They actually broke the gate with their big Casper, broke the gate down. They were the ones who were actually threatening to shoot us. Shoot us if we do not.
Thank you.
Sure. If you do not leave the premises,
Hey, comrades, lo moya is too hot. Angiconanga lo kaNkulunkulu. Yeah. Bengithi lokuzoshintsha along the gym.
I ngiyancela air conditioning imoto ayikho right. Very jackies. Yeah, so there's been actually total chaos in this matter. Chaos. And another thing that we suspect, it took place when this guy's so-called got his contract, is that there was a lot of backhanding that took place at the municipality, human settlement. Because the guys who were responsible for this project from the human settlement municipality, when we also tried to speak to them, they actually just lost us direction, They didn't want to speak to us, they didn't want to come to the meeting, they didn't want us to have a meeting with them, They just gave us wrong direction, which gave us the thinking that there might be something that took place when Soko got this contract, because even now still we still don't have their support on this. They're hiding information. They're refusing to have meetings with us. You know, Nigel Comet is like one of the major big guy in the project who was supposed to come forward and actually give us a direction on this. He is like the one who's been running away from us from where to go, you know, and other couple of guys within the government departments that are involved in this project. Them too, they were actually not wanting to communicate with us, you know, which is why the matter resulted in court. You see, it's actually a long story. A lot of names are implicated into this. Big names in the government leadership, you know. Big names in the municipality, which we suspect that they were backhanded, you know.
Yes.
Yeah. And also on the legal part, when we went to court, we also suspected that some of the judges were actually backhanded money, because there was an incident where our case was in court. We had our advocate representing us in court. The judge who was there did not even give our lawyer a chance to actually speak. The judge actually came there with a judgment. And also that it gave us concerns that why is this judge acting like this? He actually chased away our lawyer to an extent that we should be evicted as immediately as possible, because we are boycotting rent, you know?
Yeah.
Which was of course not true, because we're not boycotting rent. We're just wanting to discuss the terms of the contracts we signed, and also the terms of ownership, you know, with regards to the presentations which were presented to us before we occupy the flats, you know.
Yeah.
So we were like thrown from this one door to another. Everywhere we got, we were like chased away, you know. Even in court too, that the judge who did not want to listen to our case, we also suspected that there was some sort of bribery that took place there. Yeah, it's been a long journey, very long journey. We've got an assistance from Abahlali legal section. They've spent a lot of money trying to save us on this project, and with no victory. They were getting nowhere with the case. There's just been a stumbling block everywhere we go. You know? We got our own lawyers, we paid them off our trust account. We paid a lot of money to those lawyers and advocates. It didn't work. We are now at a state where we are fighting physically for our houses, because we are getting no joy from the legal aspect of it. See? Yeah, that's our story.
Tell me about the, to really tell people who are going to watch this, Bongo?
Bongikosi.
Hmm?
Bongikosi.
Bongikosi.
Yes, that's my name.
Yes, Bongikosi. Would you be so kind as to tell people how the government is involved in this deal?
All right. The government has a grant that he issues out to an individual that's qualified to occupy the flat. That's how the government is involved. Another party which is involved in these projects are private investors. I don't know if I should call them investors or
Funders.
yes, funders, yes.
They are
investing.
Did they build the housing, these private people?
Soko, yes, they built the housing. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So Soko had a share of input into our building of these houses, where he got the money. He got some of the money from the bank as a loan. He got another money from the funders. Another money he was given from the government, human settlement.
On your behalf.
On my behalf.
So
Yes.
the money you mentioned that the government gave you, they never gave you that money. They gave it to Soko.
To Soko, yes.
And how much?
Under my name.
And how much was it for? Do you know?
I'm not too sure of the figure. That too has not been open to us, you know.
Yes.
Everyone has been running away with that kind of information to the extent that you do not even know the value of the flat. We are just estimating of our own opinion, you know, on our own point of view, that this flat must be worth so much, you know.
Yeah.
Yes. But the thing is now, since I have been granted that subsidy from the government as an RDP house that should belong to me, as I'm evicted now, I can no longer qualify for another RDP house. You see?
Yes.
Because I'm out on the street now, I go back to human settlement, try to apply for another house. They say, but no, you've already been granted a grant. You know?
Yes.
They can't give you another one. Which gives me a problem now that I'm out on the streets. I must just try and make up some capital. It's either go and buy or continue renting to another place. While here, I was thinking I'm only going to rent 5 years, then have a change of ownership in the 5 years, because that's how they presented this project to us.
Bongis Kiwi.
Bonginkos.
Bongikos.
Oh,
You forgive me.
that's okay.
Bongikos. So, oh, I forgot what I was going to ask.
Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Okay, so 2 years ago, the government gave Soko the money, and they built this place and set up your rent. Okay. It was something I was thinking, but I forgot. It'll come back to me.
It'll come back, yes.
Yeah. Oh, RDP. Could you explain to people what RDP housing is?
RDP. Are you sure about RDP?
No, actually, these ones are not RDP houses. As I was explaining, there's a low-cost house.
This is low-cost
This
housing.
is low-cost housing,
Okay.
yes.
I'm not sure that it's middle income. No, these are middle income. They are called low-cost houses. They were called RDP before.
Okay.
I remember. I forget that name in full. It's more like Askisa, RDP, and so on and so on, these terms.
Yeah.
But what is it? It's those houses which were called RDP are the houses which are given to the government to usually shack dwellers
Yeah.
who earn less than 3,500 per month.
Yeah.
And those ones are given usually to shack dwellers. It's 100% government subsidy, that one. You contribute nothing. It's only government when it comes to those low-cost housing.
Yeah.
Then there is a bond house, which you borrow a money from the bank and you buy a house for yourself. And then the bank charges you. And the bank wants a salary which is 7,000 or more in order for the bank to give you that one. Then there are people who are earning more than 3,500 per month, which automatically disqualifies them from these low-cost houses, the RDP houses, which are 100% government subsidized. But they earn less than 7,000 for the bank to afford a bond.
To buy a house.
To buy a house.
Got you.
Then they are in the gap market. They are less than a bond, but they are bigger than a low-cost house for government to give a free house to them. Then the government made this partnership, which is called public-private partnership. Because before you even get into those Soko houses, the government have to screen you and see if you qualify for the government subsidy in order for Soko to give you a house first.
Right.
And if you're earning 7,000 or less or more, Soko can't give you their house, because Soko have to claim some money from that particular individual subsidy from the government and give Soko, and Soko gives that house to that person. So now, if you lose this house, you'll no longer be able to get any subsidy from the government. You already exhausted your subsidy.
So Soko gets the subsidy.
Yes, these guys' subsidies are with Soko, and we don't know how should double subsidies be given to one house and one organization, because the Bongos is moved, and his subsidy is with Soko, and I come in, I give Soko my subsidy on the same house which Bongos have put a subsidy on. Double subsidy for one particular person. And
I heard some figures like 90,000 Rand is the subsidy amount.
There is no guarantee, but some people are assuming that it should be like that. They are not sure.
Because the houses are worth about 150,000 Rand.
Actually, it is a five-star houses, the structures, those ones. They are quality houses. Even those people who afford their bond, they would love to use those houses. They are good houses.
True, very nice.
Your children like living there?
Yes, definitely.
Lots of other children to play with.
Yes. Yeah, and speaking of the kids, been loving the place. It's not just that they love the place. It's also that it's a walking distance from the flats to the school. It's a walking distance from the flats to the mall. It's a walking distance from the flats to the library. You know.
Which mall do you live near?
Malvern Mall. Malvern Mall. It's a walking distance. You know.
Yeah.
So it's like everything is close by, and it's safe for the kids to actually practice that, you know. So now you see how much of benefits are you depriving the kids now if you evict the family to go and live wherever they find a place. You see.
Yes.
Yeah. There are cost implications. As I'm staying now about 40 miles away from Malvern, there are cost implications now. My kids have to travel way long distance